officially welcome you to Trident Seafoods. The time has finally come. We know it has been a long wait, and we truly appreciate your 6 months of patience. We're honored to get to spend the time with you today and get to know you, and hopefully you get to know us a little bit better as well. To maximize our results in this virtual environment, we're going to encourage you to stay on mute as well as turn off your screens to ensure we have the best visual content we can. And as questions arise, please utilize the comment box. We'll have Leah and myself monitoring along with Ginger. And at the end, if questions arise, please feel free to unmute and raise your hand, and we'll address those accordingly. So as we said, welcome. My name is Annalise Gonzalez, and I am thrilled to join you amongst two of my very talented colleagues, Leah Swanson and Senya George. I've been with Trident for about 2.5 years now. Upon completing my MBA, I entered into the pharmaceutical industry. I spent a handful of years at Allergan Pharmaceuticals, and as I was weighing my next steps, I was looking at going into their Botox department. However, I thought seafood seemed so much sexier. So here we are. I grew up around the industry, and I'm thankful for summers I spent receiving my dead fish and rubber boots training, as we have coined it. And it gave me a deep-rooted passion for this industry, but also knowing at Trident, nothing happens until the fish comes over the rail. And all of us have been affected in different ways based on the pandemic and the current situation. However, this has put a tremendous challenge in front of us as we face looking at this season, and that knowing nothing happens at Trident until the fish comes over the rail, because everything we do starts in Alaska. And despite these challenges that we've all encountered, we have rose to the occasion. We have not eased up. And above all else, we have kept our fishermen, the communities, as well as our people safe and healthy. We implemented a 14-day quarantine protocol prior to traveling to Alaska. And due to these extraordinary efforts, Senya, Leah, and I are proud to share we have not had one positive COVID-19 case in Alaska through Trident Seafoods. We have stringent commitment and execution in all that we do, and this is a perfect example for us. So thank you for your 6 months of patience, and know you have been a priority to us, but we had to take care of some of those things first. So what you can expect from us today. We want to help expand your knowledge around the stewardship that Trident does, what that means, and how we can incorporate our mission and values into all that we do. The investment that Trident makes from the source to the plate. And we hope to expand your knowledge around fat and food and a self-assessment of omega-3s. We want to share accessibility, how you can reach us, as well as resources in the community and promotions, things that you can take home, take the pledge, as well as toolkits along the way. So who is Trident Seafoods? We are a family of fishermen, and we always say, welcome to that Trident family. That includes each and every one of you. Now, how do we do it? We want to act as protectors of the source, so incorporating sustainability into all that we do. And why do we do it? Because we want to make fish the food of the future. And everything we do, it stems back to that. Our mission stems directly from our founder's vision. Our founder founded Trident Seafoods 47 years ago with the vision to combine talented people, who thankfully we're surrounded by today, create lasting relationships, and have quality seafood from the source to the plate. Trident Seafoods is the largest vertically integrated company in North America. So what that means is we know exactly what it looks like when your fish comes over the rail until it gets to your plate. Chuck comes from very humble and hungry roots. He was raised on a farm in Evansville, Indiana. And if you know anything about farming, you never know what the next season may bring. And this transferred very well to life on the Bering Sea. Seafood is cyclical by nature. And Chuck was able to incorporate his ingrained principles from his home life onto life in the Bering Sea. So he would save all that he acquired so he could reinvest back into the company. And today we are pleased to utilize this, and we're not only surviving but prospering and leading the industry in innovation, safety, and quality best practices. You'll see this through the Trident Advantage that Leah and Senya plan to share with you today. So with that, I will pass it to them.
All right, good morning. Thank you again for being with us today. My name's Leah. I'm a registered dietitian, and I'm also the media chair and a board member of the GSDA. And I've been with Trident Seafoods for just under 1 year now as a nutrition and labeling specialist. So I'm very excited to share with you my passion for seafood and for seafood nutrition. So with that being said, Senya and I have prepared the following presentation for you for covering the importance of fats and seafood nutrition.
Perfect. Thank you, Leah and Anna, for your introductions. I've been so excited to present to you today since 6 months ago when Anna had initially set up a tour for you. So a little bit about my background. I know you all participated and you may have gotten to read my interview with Chris Rosenblum, but I've had 13 years of experience in food, working first for the USDA Agronomy Research Lab. I am too social, so I realized that science is wonderful, but I would rather spend more time with people. So I went into technical sales with a world-renowned bioanalytical testing company called Eurofins. And from there, I moved to Trident Seafoods about 3.5 years ago, and I handle their quality manufacturing and documentation for U.S. Pharmacopoeia for our supplements. So I'm very excited today to bring you a little bit of Alaska and the processing environment in which we work and catch the fish so that it rings a little bit closer to home to you. So Leah and I have recorded the following presentation, and if just bear with us a moment, we'll bring that up and go ahead and hit it, Leah.
Here at Trident, catching fish isn't just our business, it's our livelihood. We know the clock starts ticking the moment the fish comes over the rail. Quality and safety are key in all that we do. During the salmon season, we partner with thousands of independent and dedicated Alaskan fishermen. These gill netters will efficiently deliver their fresh catch to one of the Trident-owned tenders. Our shore plants are often located some distance from the fishing grounds. So these vessels serve as remote buying stations, taking fresh salmon deliveries and holding them in refrigerated seawater as they transport them back to the processing plants. This delivery fleet provides an uninterrupted flow of fresh fish to our plants and allows our fishermen to do more of what they do best, catch the fish. Our goal is to utilize all aspects of the species we catch. As you can see, this freshly caught salmon is processed into traditional salmon portions, canned salmon, and ikura, or salmon caviar. Ikura provides protein, potassium, omega-3s, iron, calcium, and vitamin A. Canned salmon is packed with iron, omega-3s, protein, sodium, and calcium. Salmon oil provides vitamin D3, astaxanthin, omega-3s, EPA, and DHA. And wild Alaska salmon is packed with lean protein, vitamins B12 and D, selenium, calcium, and is low in saturated fat and sodium.
In addition to partnering with independent fishermen, Trident also has its own fleet of fishing vessels that are skippered by only the most experienced captains. Today we join Captain Rick Clark and his crew on the 122-foot Columbia. Captain Clark has over 28 years of experience at sea, 22 of those working for Trident. Our fishermen rely on their decades of experience combined with modern fishing gear like the sonar screens displayed. This is to ensure catch of only our targeted wild Alaska pollock. The crew works safely and diligently as they pull up midwater trawl nets packed with wild Alaska pollock. Sensors are located on the net to inform the captain when the net is full, which minimizes tow time and preserves fish quality. Wild pollock is the most abundant, certified sustainable species on the planet. Less than 1% of what they catch is non-targeted catch, otherwise known as bycatch. 89% of wild Alaska pollock is caught in the Bering Sea. Fish are pumped from holding tanks with refrigerated seawater to preserve the quality of the fish. This Kodiak plant is capable of processing 1.5 million pounds of wild Alaska pollock a day. The cousin to the cod, wild pollock, its lean, snow-white meat, delicate texture, and mild taste make it one of the most versatile seafood options available. It's a lean protein, excellent source of vitamin B12, vitamin A and D, selenium, a good source of calcium. It's low in saturated fat and sodium. You can find pollock in surimi. It's packed with protein, potassium, omega-3s, iron, calcium, sodium, and vitamin D3. Or the ultimate fish stick, with omega-3s, carbs, iron, sodium, and protein. And last but not least, our pollock oil, concentrated only with omega-3 goodness. Now more than ever, we believe fish is our future. We want to ensure we treat its home, the ocean, with the respect it deserves, so we can continue to provide sustainable seafood for generations to come. From the source to the plate, Trident on the label truly means quality on your table.
Our annual catch is over 1.3 billion pounds a year is of pollock. So of course we gave that a highlight in the video that was displayed, along with salmon being second. We just finished our salmon season, but the important part for us is that because wild Alaska pollock is the most sustainable species, that's most of what we do, and it makes up 67% of all of our business. And the mission that we have surrounding pollock as our species of choice is we want to see more people eating more wild Alaska pollock in more ways, more often, globally. Here's a breakdown of wild Alaska pollock. A 1.5 pound fish yields yields an 8-ounce fillet, and the rest of the fish is utilized to the fullest in the same plants. So you're processing quickly to preserve that freshness. That was mentioned a few times in the video. Quality is really number one. So our plants are not in the most, I would say, the most convenient places for those of you who haven't been to Alaska, but they're where the fish are caught, and that's an important piece to our business. So as you can see, the fillet portion is the majority of what we're catching, what we're processing. We want people to be able to eat more pollock, more ways, more often, and the most common form is in a fillet or a canned product. We also recover the roe, so the females are isolated. There is a pollock roe. It's not like a cura, which you saw in the video for salmon, but it is also a very delicate, nutrient-dense option for those who don't mind the taste. And then we also have surimi as one of the best manufacturers of surimi. If you've had a California roll, you've probably had Trident Seafoods products. And then the rest of the trim and the non-edible portions go into feed use for meat and bone meal, fertilizer, and agricultural feed oils. And here's just another example for you visual folks out there. All of the ways that we've kind of sliced and diced our pollock to create some of these amazing products. You may see, your calcium recovery from the bone parts, your fillet, of course, fish meal, which also goes to aquaculture feed. So if you're buying farmed fish, usually in your sushi, those fish need to be fed as well. And then your collagen and some of your more unique protein sources. And here's a look at, even though pollock is most of what we do, the other species that we fish for, sustainability and using everything, all of the parts of the fish are really important because we spend so much time making sure that our plants are safe, our personnel are safe, and then once we get there, the catch that we're bringing in, we want to make sure that we're using as much of that fish as possible. So again, Leah talked about the akura. Here's kind of an example of separating out the water fractions from your protein, which is really the gold, what we're selling a lot of our nutrients based on. Things like your fish meal and your premixes that may go into other food or agriculture uses. And then mainly the heads we use to extract extra virgin salmon oil.
And from that process, it's a lot like an olive oil extraction process, but there is a protein recovery piece that makes an excellent organic fertilizer. So if you've never seen salmon protein concentrate, there's a picture. Looks a little bit like mud, but it's amazing, and your crops will love it. And now I'm going to turn to Leah, which is going to talk a little bit more about kind of the state of our health right now.
Perfect. Thank you, Sonia. So we're going to switch gears briefly to touch on a health crisis, which you're all very familiar with. The prevalence of obesity in the US has gone up dramatically since 2001. This map, provided by the CDC, shows the self-reported obesity prevalence increase across the entire US. As you know, obesity can be a marker for other serious health conditions, such as coronary heart disease and cardiovascular disease. So we want to acknowledge this problem, and we want to work with what is available to us to aid in improving the health of our communities. So as you all know, fat is found across many food groups. As a quick review before we dig into the specifics of seafood, there are several different types of fats. We have our saturated fats, trans fats, and unsaturated fats. Saturated fats and trans fats should be limited in the diet, while mono and polyunsaturated fats are considered the healthy fats. Now, seafood contains largely unsaturated fats, specifically polyunsaturated fat, which includes omega-3 fatty acids, which Sonia will talk more about shortly. Coconut, palm kernel, and palm oil are called oils because they come from plants. However, they are solid or semi-solid at room temperature due to their high content of short-chain saturated fatty acids. So if you notice on this chart, the different distributions of the types of fats among the different oils and solid fats. These ratios are important as new studies look at the medium and long-chain fatty acids as having the most protective health benefits, such as insulin regulation and plaque reduction. Canola oil specifically has been recently marketed as quote-unquote heart healthy. This is a conditional qualified health claim according to the US FDA because of its high oleic acid content. However, the studies show that this oil is only considered heart healthy if it's substituted for fat that's higher in saturated fat, such as coconut oil, and if the amount used is lower than 1.5 tablespoons per day. So what fat or oil should I cook with? This chart provides a handy representation of the heart-healthy fats that you should choose more often, as well as the fats that you should choose less often. So this might be a useful tool to use with clients or patients. Oil use recommendations. So most of us should be consuming no more than 5 to 6 teaspoons of oil per day. This is 1 tablespoon or 3 teaspoons of oil, which equals about 120 calories. So 2 tablespoons of oil, or 26 to 28 grams, which equals about 240 calories, would meet your daily allowance as recommended by the USDA. So what are we missing? EPA and DHA omega-3s are the most biologically active omega-3s, and these cannot be made by your body, so they should be consumed as part of a healthy diet. ALA is the omega-3 fatty acid that can be found in flaxseed, chia seed, canola oil, soybeans, and walnuts. However, ALA must be converted by the body to EPA and DHA, which your body doesn't do very efficiently. Less than 15% of the ALA that you eat is converted to EPA and DHA. To add to this, most Americans do not get a sufficient amount of ALA in the first place. So that being said, we know that seafood is truly the most efficient way to ensure that you get EPA and DHA omega-3s. As a side note, if you're vegan or are counseling vegan clients, algae oil can be a possible alternative to fish or fish oil. Straight from the source. So the American Heart Association, or AHA, recommends eating at least 2 3.5-ounce portions of non-fried fatty fish to minimize the risk of cardiovascular disease, stroke, and death. Only 1 in 5 Americans eat the recommended amount, which is clearly not enough. And although the AHA recommends taking a food-first approach as the primary message, taking 2 of our Pure Alaska Omega Wild Alaskan Salmon Oil soft gels per day is equivalent to the fatty acid content of consuming 2 3.5-ounce portions of salmon per week. Keep in mind that by getting your omega-3s through supplementation, you do miss out on the protein and some minerals, including iron, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and potassium. So as a seafood company, we believe eating fish regularly is the best way to protect your heart health. There's a link at the bottom of this slide for another client resource to find out what serving size is right for you and which seafood options you should choose more often. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Senya to dig more into omega-3s.
Thank you so much, Leah. I learned a lot. Honestly, it's always good to have a reminder of, kind of the basics in fat, because I tend to gravitate towards cheese. So it's a good reminder to limit my saturated fat. So what's missing in all these cooking oils that we're using daily? EPA and DHA. These omega-3s, if they're not at your dinner table in a seafood form, you may really be missing out on some critical heart healthy benefits. But I wanted to share with you a little bit more about the research behind omega-3s, EPA and DHA, and the science claims. So as a company of products that we manufacture as fish oils, but also as seafood, I just want to remind everyone that these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA, that our products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. And with all diet and supplement regimens, that you should be talking to your doctor to create a plan that's right for you. So kind of with that caveat, I wanted to explore a little bit with you the science surrounding omega-3 fatty acids, specifically the ones found in fatty fish. So the Global Organization of EPA and DHA, GOED, has a complete library, which is almost completely available to their scientific body. Trident Seafoods is a member of this group and organization, which creates standards for good quality fish oil manufacturing and best practices for utilizing some of these health claims. And they're a wonderful organization that really puts science first. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about science-based claims, but most people don't realize that there's over 40,000 research papers that are touting the benefits of EPA and DHA consumption. So the more that they study, the more that they learn. And they're very complex fats that each person utilizes uniquely. But the longer the chain, the more potential there is to gain. And I kind of like that pun because there's some really exciting research coming out by the National Institute of Health concerning omega-7s and omega-9s. Leah touched on the omega-9s. Fish oil has some oleic acids, but it also has some other unique omega-9s that are present in fish like pollock and also salmon. So these are exciting claims that are really just reiterating that fish is good for you. It's good to incorporate in whatever form that might be to have some versatility in your diet. Kind of the main ones I want to point out that there's support of a healthy cognitive function has been well substantiated. There's multiple studies that are talking about improved reaction times, attention, for children who have been breastfed that are getting EPA, DHA through mother's milk. It's also a critical component of both brain and visual development. It's not by chance that your optometrist might recommend at least 1,000 milligrams or 1 gram of EPA, DHA to maintain your macular health. And then, of course, the supports heart health has definitely been substantiated. You may see claims like may reduce the risk of coronary heart disease, which has been a qualified health claim that's been approved by the FDA for quite some time. If you look it up online, it will actually go to the Wayback Archives when you look up that claim. So it's definitely been there and substantiated for a good part of our history. Also supporting healthy triglyceride numbers and maintaining blood pressure. And just recently, the FDA announced a new qualified health claim for consumption of EPA and DHA combined. The claims that are highlighted below can be used for any products, fish oil, etc., that have at least 0.8 grams or 800 milligrams of EPA DHA combined as reduction in blood pressure and reduced risk of hypertension and the coronary heart disease. So what if everyone ate 7 to 8 ounces of fish per week? This can be a tricky question. How many of you like tuna? How many of you would rather have tilapia? There's personal preference is the hardest part about this question, and we believe that if we all fish sustainably, that there will be 7 to 8 ounces of fish per week or fish oils available for those to get that equivalent every week. And most of that is all about sharing and maintaining our sustainability commitment, both for a social impact, but also an environmental impact. So what you might not know is that the state of Alaska has a constitutional mandate written into their constitution to support the livelihood of the fish that are present in Alaska for fishing. Commercial fishing doesn't open until all of the sustainability requirements are met. They actually count the fish and reserve fish for the future. They're literally opening up fishing opportunity for commercial fisheries, so nothing can be caught without maintaining your sustainability goals. And the Global Seafood Sustainability Initiative is a program that created a standard of benchmarks surrounding best practices in the industry on a global scale. And they were first, they actually recognized the Alaska Responsible Fishery Management Program as first of its kind to be a certification that really is instilling those best practices. So anytime you're looking for seafood options and you're concerned about fish being available for the future, I encourage you to look for Wild Alaska. It's really the guarantee to know that you're buying a sustainable resource. And then I wanted to share with you a little bit for those that are looking at going above and beyond. Trident Seafoods recognizes that seafood is expensive. So we're one of the donors for SeaShare. We actually contribute quite a bit of both fish and monetary contributions for families in need. Not every family is fortunate enough to live near the coast or to be able to afford some of these expensive seafood options. So SeaShare is there to really help those in need, provide them with sustainable seafood nutrition. A quiet group this morning, but this is a topic close to home for me. I spend a lot of my day answering customer inquiries on top of some of my quality duties. And I just would love to hear from you what you've heard about fish oil, kind of the burning questions on your mind, whether it's related to quality or use or manufacturing. We're really here as a resource for you, and we'd be happy to let you think on that. Take a moment and just write in your questions in the comment box and we'll be sure to answer those. USP, you may see this on products at Costco or at your local pharmacy, but really US Pharmacopoeia as a documentation expert for our verified products, I truly am a believer that if you want to recommend a good quality supplement to your family and friends, especially grandma, she's a very important part of our lives, you want to look for this USP verified logo. USP verifies what's on the labels, what's inside the bottle. And most consumers don't realize that The FDA does oversee all supplements, but a lot of the labels look different. They don't have as much time to look at how they're complying to the rules. So groups like US Pharmacopoeia and NSF International really fill that hole for the FDA to ensure the quality of what you're taking as a complement to your diet. And so, Positive Identity, they verify for our salmon oil that it is 100% salmon oil. They verify the potency that the EPA and DHA and omega-3 claims, as well as the vitamin D claim that is coming from a natural form, is present in the right amounts that are declared. And then it's also testing and verifying our purity to ensure there's nothing harmful in the product, that you're really getting the benefit of the actives, those fatty acids that are present, and nothing else. And then the performance, last but not least, that the soft gel and the contents within will be absorbed at the right time when taken. If you want to learn more, you can also go to qualitysupplements.org and read a little bit more about US Pharmacopoeia. And here's just a look at some of the products. We touched on those. You saw in the bottling line, our joint Kirkland Signature product made for Costco was displayed there. We're really proud of these items, but there's not one size fits all. So if you're someone that's looking to just get your boost, ensure that maybe your seafood options aren't always the fattiest of fish. You may just need a little bump in your omega-3 intake. So we have a Pure Alaska Omega Salmon Oil, or the Kirkland Signature Pollock and Salmon Oil blend. And those are really the closest alternatives to eating fish because they contain a wide array of fatty acids, not just your EPA, DHA, and also vitamins, your fat-soluble vitamins. And then the last is the Pure Alaska Omega 500 milligram mini soft gel. It's 85% of the contents in your soft gel are just your EPA, DHA, omega-3s. So for my husband, he doesn't like fish. That is the option for him, and his doctor has been very pleased with his biometrics. So complementary supplementation, I just want to touch on that a little bit because, again, we're a seafood company. We really hope that you're choosing seafood on your plate more often. But when you aren't seafood, maybe you're seafood averse, there's a good option to take your fish oil, and we recommend doing it at mealtime. You can certainly take it with your multivitamin. I do that. Usually at lunch with something substantial. I like to say it doesn't pair well with orange juice. If you wouldn't eat a fish with orange juice, you may not want to take your fish oil with orange juice. But the good thing about these fish oils is that they really pair nicely with the supplement regimen you may already have. Those that are looking at prenatal health, the folate, the choline, the vitamin D, and your fish oil is definitely important for your fetal development. You may be looking at supporting your joint health with MSM, glucosamine, or potentially thinking about your immune health. I know that's been something that everyone's kind of thinking of, getting flu shots this time of year, taking your extra boost of vitamin C, zinc, selenium, along with your fish oil may be a good insurance policy. And now I'm going to go to Leah, who's going to talk to you about what you might be missing by just having supplements.
Excellent, thank you. So as Senya mentioned, many of the complementary supplement ingredients are found in wild Alaska salmon and wild Alaska pollock. Wild Alaska salmon not only provides a good amount of omega-3s, but it contains a high quality protein and essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamins A, B12, D, and E, as well as selenium, potassium, iron, and calcium. So what if you're not a fan of the taste of salmon? Try our Wild Alaska Pollock for A and B vitamins, selenium, potassium, iron, and calcium. And a fun fact about Wild Alaska Pollock that I recently read about, a recent independent research study conducted in Japan showed that Wild Alaska Pollock has a near perfect NPU, or net protein utilization, which represents the amount of protein that your body absorbs. So it actually was comparable to that of the egg, which is seen as the gold standard. So this makes wild Alaska pollock an excellent choice for optimizing your muscle growth. So whether you prefer salmon, pollock, or any of the other delicious seafood we have available, know that you're nourishing your body and your mind. With that being said, I'm going to pass it back to Senya for the last few minutes of our presentation.
Perfect. Thank you, Leah. We're trying to keep you guys on your toes here. So thanks for bearing with us. Those of you who may have your own practice or consulting clients on their diet may also be interested to know that there is a way to measure your omega-3 index. Omega Quant has a registered FDA recognized blood kit that they can send you. I always recommend, if you're going to start eating your 2 portions of fatty fish per week, or before you start your fish oil supplementation, to request a kit to get a baseline. Most Americans, as you saw previously, were not getting their 2 ounces or 3.5 ounce portions a week. And so this is an important way to understand how much you might need for supplementation to bridge that gap. And although there's no dietary intake recommendation right now, there is that strong indication that 2 portions of fatty fish a week can really help maintain your health and your heart health. Other countries around the globe have adopted actual numbers, so it's interesting to see how that might progress for the United States. And so a good target in an Omega Quant index would be somewhere between 6 and 12, 12 being the highest or best number for your Omega-3 index. And this may also be a good resource for you. Always Omega-3s, you can go to their website, subscribe to their mailing list, but they are organization that was, or a consumer-facing website that was created by GOED, the Global Organization for EPA DHAs, and they have a quick quiz here where you can fill this out on a regular basis just to check yourself, because people don't always keep a list of everything that they're eating, but it might be a good way to say, how much have I had this month? If you answer every question here, for how many fish, how many fatty fish you're eating, how many soft gels you might be taking, also fortified eggs, milk, juices, those are definitely available. So I challenge you to look for those at your grocery store. If everyone fills out 2 for these questions, you're getting about 250 milligrams per day. And that recommendation is by the World Health Organization. So we're talking global scale, but that is a minimum suggested for maintaining health. More is always better. So the International Society for Fats and Lipid Chemists, ISFAL, recommends actually taking 500 milligrams. This is an incredibly smart society of individuals and researchers throughout the globe who have really spent their lives dedicated to omega-3 consumption and research. And so I always urge people to go for that 500 milligrams because there is no upper limit or side effect to getting something wholesome in your diet. And then we just like to thank you for your time and hope that this was a good alternative to an in-person tour while you stay safe and home. But we'd love to open this up for questions, and I think Ginger may be moderating some of those, but I want to thank you for your attention. Here is the products that I showed before. You can go to our Pure Alaska Omega website for more details about our products, and here's where you can buy them.